said so far is true. What they are forgetting, these people go into an injection site, they're injecting an illegal drug.
There you go.
They come out of that site, they're high, they're not in the right state of mind. They're allowed to roam the community and vandalize, victimize, and hurt everybody in this community. The answer to this problem, I personally don't know, but somebody once said, if we build it, they will come. They built Turning Point, they built Mustard Seed, and they built Safe Harbor. Right now it's time to say, if we take it away, they will go. I disagree with the person who just spoke to me. These people don't want help. Everyone I've arrested, I have a chat with them. I asked them, why not get a job? I have to show them work. I personally revived one guy 3 times in 2 days. He shit on me, excuse me, I'm not politically correct, I was in the military. He shit on me for taking him out of his happy place, okay, after I injected him with Narcan. My Narcan kit is now in my office, and that's for me or my staff. I'm at the point where somebody ODs in front of me, I'm gonna dial 911, and my drill, I might have to remember my password. I'm very disgruntled. Like I said, personally, I had a broken ankle. My ankle was dislocated. I went through 4 surgeries. I was told I'd never walk again, but as you can see, I can walk. I was victimized by a person who was high on meth. I'm trained in unarmed combat. I was an unarmed combat instructor in the military. I basically can fight. But this guy was high on methamphetamine, which is pure adrenaline. I could not control him, and 5 of my staff members could not control him. All I can suggest is to find another way to deal with these people. I think starting would be to get rid of these enabling sites, like Safe Harbor, Mustard Point, and Turning Seed. I sent an email to City Council, Buck Buchanan, and Desna Hyam. I took a picture of the Mustard Seed in Calgary. They said, our resources are full. If you require transportation to Red Deer, we will give it to you. Thank you for listening to me.
My name is Brett Solomons, and I'm a partner at Solomons Commercial Real Estate Brokerage and Services firm. I'm 34 years old, and I'm born and raised in Red Deer. I want to share my views as a citizen first and foremost, but we'll be adding professional anecdotes as well. I always try to keep an objective and open mind and listen all sides with anything I do. I understand that it's difficult for most people to reconcile that allowing individuals to consume narcotics with the most adverse effects actually helps a community. I've seen safe consumption sites become a polarizing topic in Red Deer, and routinely am a party to heated discussions with people from all walks of life. What I'm tired of hearing is that to oppose a safe consumption site means that you come from a privileged background and you lack compassion. On top of the many tax dollars that business owners and others contribute, there are vast sums of money that are donated to flow to organizations like the Turning Point. There is compassion to these marginalized groups. The expectation is that is reciprocated. There are valid concerns around safe consumption sites, and these organizations would help their cause by not dismissing them. I found the report released in August by the Alberta Community Council on HIV failed in presenting an unbiased report and instead focused solely on the benefits of safe consumption sites. I do not disagree that these sites provide harm reduction to the individuals who use them. Having a 100% success rate on overdoses reversal obviously attests to that. But as stated in the report, quote, the first goal of the SCS is to keep people alive and improve their quality of life. While it would never be admitted publicly, I feel in practice this is their only goal, and that the organizations involved do not take the concerns seriously that the community and other stakeholders continually raise about safe consumption sites. First, one of the conclusions of the ACCH report stated that, quote, the scientific evidence has found that SCS has no impact on serious crime. Further states that Red Deer had an 11% decrease for 2017 after seeing increases since 2014. These stats predate the opening of Red Deer's overdose prevention site, which occurred in October 2018. The City of Red Deer's crime stats for the first quarter of 2019 compared to the first quarter of 2018 had a 41% increase in property crime, a 30% increase in theft under $5,000, a 39% increase in break-and-enters, and a 213% increase in stolen vehicles. The report could have made mention of these stats and obviously cannot attribute these numbers solely to the overdose prevention site, but to ignore it is equally irresponsible. I further believe that these sites have a greater impact on smaller urban centers compared to larger ones. Taking a 1 kilometer radius around an SCS would most likely have the same impacts if it was in Calgary or Red Deer. However, 1 kilometer radius in Red Deer is roughly 20% of its total area compared to 5% for Calgary. Therefore, the consequences of an SCS will have larger impact on smaller urban centers, and proper site selection becomes even more important. I've spoken to others in my profession in Lethbridge, and I feel it has hit that community harder than, say, Edmonton or Calgary. Red Deer's location is particularly foolhardy as it is right on our claimed bike trails in the center of the city, in the middle of a redevelopment neighborhood. Our downtown in recent years has seen a steady increase in businesses migrating out. We're currently sitting at 16%
Just to give you a little bit of a time check, sorry, I know you can't see the.
for office space and net rents are at historic lows, and both of these numbers are continuing to trend in the wrong direction. I'll conclude with this. There are failings across the system, but I would like to point out a few examples after consulting professionals in their respective industries. Province needs to take a bigger lead on this. Health is a provincial mandate, and the province has the budget to effectively dedicate resources to where they need to go. City Council should not have approved the land use and rail yards. I've often been told they were forced to accept the SCS. If this were the case, we no longer reside in free democracy. A better site selection would have been the Michener Center. This is by far the best location for this type of service, as referrals could be set up for other services there. The RCMP should have more foot and bike controls. These are proven tactics that have been used in Chicago and New York to help reduce crime, as it becomes more visual and is easier to sneak up on criminal activity. And our judicial system needs to change. There's zero consequence to committing crimes, and people are caught or back on the streets quickly.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arun Mishra, and I'm an engineer, similar to the previous gentleman who spoke. He was actually one of my ex-students. And as an engineer, I'm not very articulate. And English being a second language, I'm really terrible in English as well. So I'm going to be very short. I just want to, as a scientist, I just want to talk about how we can make decisions that are emotions based, and I noticed that there are a lot of speakers who were really excellent speakers, and they made people clap, and they were very emotional, very personal, but there is also the other side of this whole idea of evidence-based research that we need to consider. Now, one of the things about addiction is that is it an illness, or is it related with mental health, or is it something that police has to look after? We need to consider that if we think that addiction is an illness, we need to treat it as a mental health issue rather than a law and order issue. And depending on how we decide or what we decide in terms of evidence-based versus emotional-based, law and order versus mental health, we need to make sure that we use best practices to make a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenn. Most of what I wanted to say has been said already, but I'm not sure why users in Red Deer, I'm not sure why their lives are more important than the rest of Red Deerians. It just seems like we're looking after them for the sake of the rest of Red Deer. I think naloxone and the safe injection sites have saved lives, but what does that do? Many of them have been injected maybe 10, 20 times with naloxone, and where does that go? We need to have long-term rehab, and it's not 24 days of detox. It's years or 6 months, a year, year and a half, to get these people, get their brains back in sync. I live across from a park and never had any problems until recently, where I go to the park, find needles, spoons. Actually, if I could just quickly show you a picture. At that park, where I'm finding Dr. now, people walk, dogs walk, kids play. So I'm there almost every day, making sure that it's cleaned up. And I just feel that this free needle handout is not working. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Hi there, my name is Karen Janet Koretsky. I have a clinic downtown, the core of Red Deer. I've been there for 15 years. about 20 years in all downtown. I've seen it all. I still see the people that wander the streets that have survived. I see the mentally ill, and I've seen also all the newcomers. I witness this every day. I'd like to introduce myself. I have a clinic. It's about emotional, spiritual, physical health, and it's a life-changing experience when you walk through my door. I'm trained in traditional Chinese medicine. I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. I'm also trained in Western medicine and pharmacology, so I have a very wide spread of thinking. I was not trained in China. I was trained to work in China. In China, when you walk into the hospital, you smell the herbs, you smell the decoctions, because if that's what that patient needs, that's what they get. You have the pharmacology section where when that needs to be administered, that is administered. You have the patents, you have the surgical section, you have the acupuncture section. There, it's huge. It's like the university, and it's a hospital. The reason why I'm stating that is I'm going to start with a positive or a solution or an improvement. All turning points, RCMP enforcement, safe injection sites, under one roof, and let's include the DBA. This is for time effectiveness, proper IDing of these individuals, emergency services to be administered under one roof, working as a team with each and every one of them. This allows the room for the taxpayers, the innocent, the victims of this crisis, to have our needs looked after, our emotional care taken care of, our physical, our emergency care. Because what's happening is I'm seeing the scale being tipped, and that's why people are angry. Okay, now I'm gonna go into the positive, okay? I thought a lot about this, and other people have heard my opinions, and I've been not properly. Anyways, the way I look at it, if there's supervision, now these needles are being accounted for. Because as far as I know right now, needles are walking out the door and they're left in our parks, in our streets, outside my clinic door. I came home, or I came to work one evening, and there's a guy right outside my door. I told him he couldn't be here, the needle went flying, I picked up the mess, I cleared the space after. So this is what I don't like. So I like the idea of supervision. I like those needles being accounted for. The negative, enabling, the biggest crisis, not only in our city, it's in schools, homes, government, with a vengeance. A hand up is a lot different than a hand out. I'm not speaking of the homeless, mentally ill, and the ones that are trying. I've spent 20 years downtown watching and knowing it. Asking now, not for our own, but everybody outside of here, to the downtown core be considered. Addicts taking from the innocent, taxpayers using our healthcare system, and others innocent on the
Just a
back
time
burner.
check, just so you know, we're running.
That's all.
No,
I
you
have
can
to
finish
say.
your sentence, but I want to respect other people that also.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is if we have some housing, like China, right? Where these people are cared for in the way they need to, that allows us to have the care that we need, the police enforcement, the emergency services, and we're not neglected. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, we've got somebody.
Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to speak tonight and the impact it's having on our business. My name is Raina, and we own Peer Healthcare downtown in the Century Center, which is the corner of Little Gates and 48th Avenue. This is the area that the city of Red Deer works so hard to revitalize and bring up to a better standard where businesses want to come, where people want to be, and where people want to gather and thrive. It brought businesses, and the policing was stepped up, the beautification of downtown increased, businesses were moving in, our staff and clients felt safe. In the past few months, we've noticed a significant decline in downtown core. Business is affected on multiple levels, none of which is positive. In the last few months, we have had people on handcuffs climb into the passenger side of our staff and clients' doors when they unlock their vehicles to leave. We've had clients unable to get out of their cars in the parking lot due to people acting erratically and scaring them.
This is different than the homelessness issue where people are just there and they're